All right, turn 3. Summer 1861. Crushing the Missouri State Guard. At the beginning of turn 3, your forces should be converging on Jefferson City, and it is time to defeat the Missouri State Guard once and for all. It is worth noting that in this game we have been very lucky with the weather in Missouri. If you are unfortunate enough to have mud delay your advance, this may not be possible until turn 4. Select one of the units near Jefferson City and move it into a hex adjacent to the Missourian unit in the city. Then hover with your mouse over the Missourian. Okay, so let's do that first. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to click on Missouri. Zoom in. I'm going to select one of your units near Jefferson City and move it into a hex adjacent to the Missourian unit in the city. So I guess I'll move the brigade. That's a regiment? Yeah. Okay, I'll move the brigade. Okay. Then hover with your mouse over the Missourian regiment in Jefferson City. Okay. When you hover over an enemy unit with one of yours selected that can attack it, the information panel at the bottom of the screen will display an estimate of the losses if you do decide to attack. Okay. You will also see, right. Whoops. You will also see the estimated losses appear over the Missourian unit. In this instance, 1-to-1, with the number on the left being the attacker's expected losses, that on the right, the defenders. Okay, so he moved the brigade as well. Actual results may vary by 1 in either direction, so it is possible that you will suffer 2 strength point losses instead of 1, and if you are very lucky, you may suffer none at all. Attacks by land units work as follows. Units that attack before moving receive a prepared attack bonus. This is not possible this turn, but should be taken advantage of whenever possible. Okay. Should I wait until next turn? This increases their readiness by 40% for this attack, making their attack more effective. All land units, apart from artillery, have to be in a hex adjacent to the target to attack. Okay. Now we are going to attack the regiment. So with your unit remaining selected, a left click on the enemy unit. This will launch your attack. Okay. Select, left click. Here we go, my first attack. Okay, so he lost 2, I think, and I lost 1. Now attack the same Missourian unit with as many other units as you can get in the same way by moving them adjacent to the unit and then clicking on the target. Okay, so this is another brigade, but he can't get there. Okay, this guy, oh, this is cavalry. Okay. And he can't move anymore. Okay. Cavalry, so I guess attack with the cavalry as well? I don't know. 1-to-1. Nothing. I guess him as well. But then they're going to be blocking. Well, I guess they can move first. So I'm going to lose 1. He will lose nothing. So I'm going to not do that. Okay. So just one other unit. Oh, and him. Okay. Oh, and him. What do I want to do with him? I guess move him over here. Okay. Casualties are to be expected as some of our forces are attacking across a river, which reduces your attack's effectiveness by 25%. If a unit's readiness, and therefore its potential combat effectiveness, is below 50%, then this can be easily seen without having to click on any units, because the number representing its unit strength will look fainter. Okay. Well, I didn't attack across the river. Okay. If a unit's readiness is below 50%, this can be easily seen without having to click on any units because the number representing its unit strength will look fainter. Where's that? The number representing its unit strength will look fainter. Unit strength. Strength 3 to 5. Strength 10. Okay, I don't have any that have readiness under, what was it, 50%. Keep an eye out for enemy units with this fainter strength numbers, as all other things being equal, they will be more vulnerable to attack. Okay. In addition, if you hover your mouse over the enemy unit to view its details in the information panel, its readiness value will show in gray rather than in yellow. If you hover your... Oh, I want to record now. How long I'm taking. Okay. In addition, if you hover your mouse over the enemy unit to view its details in the information panel, its readiness value will show in gray rather than yellow. Oh, I see. Okay, it's 39%, I see. Oh, maybe he can attack? No. So he's not likely to lose anything. Okay, that's fine. Don't worry if you didn't destroy the Missouri State Guard Regiment this turn. Its combat effectiveness, even if it is reinforced in the Confederacy's turn, will now be significantly lower after all your attacks, and because our units are now next to Jefferson City. How can they be reinforced if I have the whole place surrounded? Okay, I'm going to write that as a question. How can an enemy formation be reinforced if I have it surrounded? Enemy unit. And because our units are now next to Jefferson City, when we attack next turn, all our attacks will benefit from the prepared attack bonus. Oh, that's a good reason to keep your guys next to it. Right, okay. If, however, you did manage to destroy the Missouri State Guard Regiment, be sure to occupy Jefferson City. At the end of the turn, Missouri will surrender and become a part of the Union. Note, the Missouri State Guard is a special case where a nation will be annexed into the Union upon its surrender. When other nations, such as the Indian tribes, surrender, they will simply become occupied territory and can be liberated if a friendly army recaptures their capital. Okay. Oops. Okay. West Virginia. Okay. As we saw at the end of last turn, General McClellan has now arrived in Ohio, along with several brigades of volunteers, ready to march into West Virginia. This is something we should do promptly, as right now the Confederacy is underprepared, and if we move quickly enough, it may be possible to secure the entire state, or technically speaking, half of the state. At this point in history, West Virginia was still a part of the state of Virginia. Securing West Virginia will provide us with several advantages. Capturing enemy resources also reduces enemy income, thus reducing their ability to resist. In addition, West Virginia is a very defensible position once it has been occupied, with the Appalachian Mountains severely limiting the Confederacy's ability to send forces into the state from the east. So we will likely only require a few brigades to maintain our control over the state. Okay. Okay. Later in the game, it will also be possible for West Virginia to secede from Virginia and formally rejoin the Union as the 35th state in the Union. Doing so would improve our fighting spirit and put us one step closer to winning the war. Okay. Focus on the objective. The key to winning the war is to focus on what matters and to avoid putting any effort into attacks that won't contribute to victory. Although our industrial base is superior to the Confederacy's, we will not be able to launch overwhelming attacks in every direction at once. Concentrating on one or two fronts that hold promise will ensure that you are not spreading your forces too thin, and a local advantage gained in one theater can always be exploited and turned into further gains elsewhere. Okay. Oops. It is also important to remember that this rebellion will take time to crush, and your initial priority should be preparing your economy and the nation for the struggle ahead. Research and production should be your primary goals for the remainder of 1861, as divisions and eventually corps are significantly more powerful than the brigades currently available. Monitors and soon ironclads will drastically shift the balance of power at sea, so construction of new warships will be essential if your blockade has any hope of cutting the Confederacy off from the outside world. So, as your new armies begin deploying, do not neglect the Western theater when organizing your forces. Though Kentucky is currently neutral, it will likely enter the war by the end of 1861. And as soon as it does, you can expect Confederate forces in Tennessee to attempt to gain control of the state. By the beginning of 1862, you should have assembled a new and powerful army ready to go on the offensive. And once you are able to, you should not hesitate to do so. There are many ways to achieve victory. Do you march directly on Richmond, or perhaps attempt to seize control of the Mississippi River? Perhaps a bold amphibious landing at New Orleans will be the masterstroke that cripples the Confederacy. Whatever route you choose, we wish you the very best. Good luck, Mr. President. Okay. Oh, and that's the end of... Wow, okay, that wasn't very long at all. Well, then I guess I'll read the general tips as well. Okay. Okay, so general tips. Battle for victory. If you can predict that enemy units will have lower supply and/or readiness in the following turn, for example by cutting them off from friendly resources, then it is often better to delay attacking them until your next turn, when you will find that the expected combat losses will be much more favorable. Generally, it is best to badly damage or destroy a small number of enemy units rather than to spread your attacks over a wide front. Battered units will take time to recover and will be more vulnerable in subsequent turns than others because even if they recover their losses via reinforcements, for a few turns their morale and readiness will be lower than other units, all other things being equal. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is straight out of StarCraft. You know, teching up. Teching up is just like in StarCraft. Focusing your attacks on a couple units is just like StarCraft. Okay. Swapping units. You may at times wish to swap the location of two units. To do this, left-click on a unit that you have not yet moved or attacked with. Then press and hold Shift on your keyboard and hover your mouse over an adjacent friendly unit that has also not yet moved. You will notice that your mouse cursor changes to a double-headed black arrow. When this is showing, you are ready to swap the position of two units. All you need to do now is to left-click on one of them and they will swap places. So if two units are adjacent and neither has moved, left-click on one of them, hold Shift, hover over the other one, then left-click on one of them. Okay. To swap them. Forced march. One method of quickly moving land units is to use forced march. Left-click on a land unit twice, and providing it is a unit capable of forced march, has a supply value of 5 or more, and it is not adjacent to an enemy unit, it will be able to move 50% further than usual. However, the exhaustion caused by this will reduce the unit's morale by 50 to 60%. It will then take several turns to rest and recover its morale, and until it has done so, its combat effectiveness will be reduced quite significantly. Note, a unit using forced march will not be able to attack or capture enemy resources, and artillery doing this will have their supply of shells reduced to 1. Okay. So what would you use that for then? Like to defend? I don't know. HQ settings. One thing you can do during the game is to change which units are commanded by your HQs. When you click on an HQ, notice that units attached to its command are highlighted in green. These are the units that receive a leadership bonus based on the HQ's command rating. By right-clicking on an HQ and selecting Set Mode from the drop-down menu, attachments for that HQ may be set to Auto, Auto Assist, or Manual. When in Auto Assist or Manual mode, you can change a unit's attachment or detachment status, for example, to change which units are commanded by an HQ. Click on the HQ so that the units attached to it are highlighted in green. To detach a unit, right-click on a unit highlighted in green and select Detach. Okay. To attach one, right-click on one highlighted in blue and select Attach. The colors denote whether or not they are already attached. This isn't something you should need to do very frequently, but at times it will come in useful, especially when you don't have enough HQs for all your units and a decisive battle must be won. Okay. So okay. Transports. Yeah, they didn't talk about that at all so far. Units can be rapidly moved by sea or river by using transports. In the 1861 Blue and Gray campaign, 3 types of transports are available for use: regular, amphibious, and amphibious LR. The first is for moving troops between friendly ports, whereas the amphibious transport is for making landings on hostile shores. Embarking units in any type of transport costs military production points, MPPs, with the amphibious transports being more expensive than regular ones. Additionally, each country has a limit on how many it can use at any one time of any particular type of transport. Why is that? When it comes to launching invasions, amphibious transports have the ability to attack prior to unloading the embarked unit, which means that in many situations, any targeted units can be attacked twice. Note, however, that this is an era before specially designed landing craft, so it may be safer to land your forces first and then march to the target. Okay. So Okay. Units will lose 1 supply point per turn that it is in the amphibious transport, reducing its combat effectiveness. So it is best to only embark in an amphibious transport as close as possible to when you will want to launch the invasion. To embark, your unit will need to be in or adjacent to a friendly port, although Marines can embark in an amphibious transport from any coastal hex. Okay. Right-click on the unit and click on the type of transport you wish to put the unit in. Say yes to the confirmation message advising you of the MPP cost. A regular transport can then move in this turn, although an amphibious transport cannot move until the following turn unless level 1 in amphibious warfare has been researched. Once the transport has reached its destination, it can unload, either by right-clicking on the transport and selecting Unload, or by left-clicking on a highlighted destination hex. The embarked unit will then disembark, and it is now ready for action, albeit with limited action points in the turn it disembarks. Okay. Reinforcements. Reinforcing units that have received significant damage is generally best before their next combat, as otherwise their fighting performance will be reduced and they will risk being destroyed. Damaged units can be reinforced by right-clicking on them and selecting Reinforce, expending some MPPs to do so, but losing some combat experience in the process. Is that realistic? Or you can use the Reinforce tool. This is located second from the right, on the right side of the panel at the bottom of the screen. With this selected, any unit you click on that can be reinforced will be reinforced to the maximum possible, provided you have MPPs available to do so. It's a very quick way of reinforcing large numbers of units, and the MPP cost shows above the unit when you hover over it, so you can decide if you wish to spend the cost or not. Okay, well, let's do this. Note that a unit cannot carry out any other actions that turn if reinforcing. An exception is if the unit has swapped position with another, as it can reinforce after swapping. Okay. Reinforcing a unit uses all of its action points and completes its turn. When you reinforce naval units, you will see that with the exception of torpedo boats, they can only receive a maximum of 5 strength points per turn. Okay. As units engage in combat, they will increase in experience, and successful actions will lead to greater experience gains. Okay. As units engage in combat, they will increase in experience, and successful actions will lead to greater experience gains. If a unit has any full experience bars, then this will be represented by white dots above the unit's strength. Okay. Experience icons will also display in the unit info panel, for example, a full US flag for Union units, as in the example below. Okay. In this example, the Union unit has 1 experience point. Elite reinforcements can be purchased at a rate of 1 per turn, up to the maximum number of experience bars that a unit has. Elite can be 1 per turn. And you can do this by right-clicking on the unit and selecting Elite Reinforcements. What does that mean? 1 what? 1 step? 1 strength? If your unit already has strength points equal to the number of full experience bars, then further reinforcement won't be possible. That is, if a unit has 1 experience point and is already at strength 11, then it cannot receive any elite reinforcements. Okay. In addition to the normal restrictions on reinforcing units as explained above, there are some additional requirements for receiving elite reinforcements. It must not be adjacent to an enemy unit. Its supply level must be 6 or greater. Its strength must be at least 10. Is it realistic to be able to reinforce units with elite troops seemingly out of nowhere? Not adjacent to an enemy unit. Supply 6 or more. Strength at least 10. Strength. What's strength? Oh. So you can only do it for the last strength step? What do you call those? Steps? I don't understand. This means at least 10 must be, I would imagine, exactly 10, unless maybe there's strengths more than 11. Okay. Rail movement. Actually, how long does this section go? Oh, it's almost done. Okay. If you want to transfer your artillery or other units rapidly from one front to another, then moving them by rail is the quickest way of doing so. Rail movement represents the rapid relocation of a unit over a long distance via railroad for a cost in MPPs, and it will be the only action the unit can carry out this turn. To rail move a land unit, including balloons, right-click on it and select Rail Move. You will then be presented with a dialog box informing you of the cost if you proceed. Saying yes does not yet commit you to rail movement, but by doing so, potential destination hexes will then be highlighted. Left-click on the one you wish to travel to, or right-click anywhere on the map to cancel. To be able to move by rail, land units must have a supply value of at least 5 and be on a railroad that is linked to at least one resource with a strength of at least 5. This will provide the opportunity to move the unit to any connected resource on the railroad that also has a strength of at least 5. Resource. Okay. Don't know what that's supposed to represent, okay, but sure. Unit is on a rail line. On a railroad, does that mean on like a rail line, or is that railroad an actual unit or like a object on the map? Okay. Upgrading units. If you go to the Research tab along the top of the screen, you'll see two columns of research categories. Those on the left-hand side represent manual research fields. Those on the right, automatic ones. What this means in practice is that to benefit from the manual ones, when you attain research successes in these fields, you will have to manually upgrade relevant units to benefit from it. No such action is required to benefit from the automatic ones, as your economy or armed forces will automatically improve as a result of research successes in any of these areas. Okay. Upgraded units are better able to either attack, defend, or move than their equivalents without upgrades. So when you attain a research success in a manual category, developing level 1 in, say, infantry equipment or naval engines, right-click on the unit you wish to upgrade with the relevant category. A cost will be incurred in MPPs for upgrading, but the unit will now benefit from better combat factors in whatever way is relevant to that unit type and research category. For example, infantry equipment will give your infantry better attack and defense factors against land target types. If you are playing with 3D counters, you will also notice that the infantry unit is now represented by a slightly different graphic. Click on OK to proceed. Note, larger and more advanced units, such as corps and ironclads, will tend to benefit from research advancements by a greater amount per level than older or smaller units. If you cannot afford to upgrade all of the units in your army at once, prioritize your better units first. Okay. Beware of partisans. Okay. As you advance, one thing to beware of is that Confederate partisans may appear and liberate areas if you leave them empty of troops. To ensure that you don't accidentally trigger any partisans by moving a unit away from an area where they might appear, press P on the keyboard, and you will be able to see the areas you need to keep garrisoned, as in the example below. This? To prevent partisans from appearing, it will suffice to have a unit in the same or an adjacent hex to the areas where they can trigger. If you see partisan icons elsewhere with a red diagonal line through them, they represent places that, if left unguarded, will trigger partisan activity that will reduce the strength of your resources, but without deploying a partisan unit on the map. While this is naturally less serious than having a partisan unit appear on the map, it will lead to lower income and supply in that area. Note, other countries also generate partisans if occupied, including the Union. Okay. Okay. Next steps. Now that we've given you a start, refer to the 1861 Blue and Gray Strategy Guide for further information and advice on playing and winning this campaign. This can be accessed either via the launcher or from one of the buttons at the top right of the screen while playing. For more information on game features, the next chapter on Game Essentials should be your next step. If you have any further questions, you can search this manual for the answer. But if you get stuck or would like to share your opinion on anything, please visit our forum at Matrix Games. Cool. Okay, so I'll read the Game Essentials as a separate video because I think this is kind of a long... Yeah, it's a long one. Yeah, that's a very long one. Ooh, and it's still going. Yeah, that's long. The reinforcements. Okay.